Good evening, my name is Mr. Yillick.
And I'm Mrs. Kate. Welcome to the After School Special. Tonight we're going to talk about alcohol, drugs, and what it means to be above the influence.
But before we begin, let us introduce our two guests. On my left is Mr. Kedley, and on my right is Mr. Spaulding.
Hello.
Hi.
This is Mr. Kedley, and he is going to talk to us about drugs and alcohol use among teens.
Thanks, Miss Kate. Even though alcohol and drugs are among teens has gone down the past 10 years, it's still a big problem. The thing is that young people are being sold drugs from older people. Adults should know when they're contributing to the issue just as much as teens and children they are actually doing the drugs or alcohol.
Are there many kinds of drugs that teens can get a hold of?
Actually, there are many kinds of drugs and many kinds of forms. They are all used for more or less the same thing. They just have different after effects. The main ways of getting drugs into the body are available to young adults are smoking, pills, inhalants or snorting, liquids, ingestible paper, and injections or shots. The most commonly abused drug is the one that is prescribed by a doctor for someone other than the person that is actually taking it. Other common drugs that teens can get a hold of are cocaine or crack, LSD or acid, PCP, ecstasy, heroin, Rofl, steroids, GHB, inhalants such as pain thinner, glue or sealants, cigarettes, smokeless or chewing tobacco, methamphetamine, marijuana, and ketamine.
That is a long list. Where do people get these drugs?
Well, most of them are imported or made by illegal super labs or by drug lords. Then they are sold to local dealers, which in turn sell them to adults, teens, and children.
Well, where do the teens and the children get the money for these drugs?
Well, the sad truth of it is sometimes they don't have to buy them. They're just given to them by their parents or other adults. Other times they sell their labor or their allowance.
Well, thank you for coming in to share that with us tonight, Mr. Kedley. To test some of Mr. Kedley's thoughts, we went and asked some teens some questions.
Marijuana, coke, crack, meth, cocaine, pot and cocaine,
Smoking,
shot, smoking it, snorting it,
they sell stuff.
they save up their allowance, steal it money from their parents, from jobs.
There you have it. That's how it works, straight from the experts and local teens.
Our other guest this evening is Mr. Spaulding. He's here tonight to talk to us about the influences and what the Above the Influencing advertising campaign is all about.
Thank you, Mr. Yellick. I don't know how much you guys and girls know about influences.
I know they can make you do things that you may not necessarily want to do.
Exactly. If that is what an influence is, then above the influence means to stay above peer pressure. Be better than those who give in and don't let people change you.
What pressures adolescents?
Well, Mr. Kedley, there are many things that contribute to the pressure, including stress, crowd, image, peers, hype, and control. To you children watching, you need to deal with it in the right way. You need to talk to someone about it, or at least to let off steam, because pressure and stress just builds and builds until you can't stand it anymore, and you do something that you regret. Adults and teens watching, you need to look for dangerous forms of thoughts and actions in your children or friends. Things to look for are, but not limited to, clenched jaw, tooth grinding, sleep problems, depression, anxiety, restlessness, irritability, mood swings, and insecure feelings.
And what about the Above the Influence advertising campaign?
Well, the Above the Influence is an advertising campaign of the National Youth Anti-Drug Media Campaign, conducted by the Office of National Drug Control Policy in the United States, that includes messaging to focus on substances most abused by teens, and delivers both broad prevention messaging at the national level and more targeted efforts at the local community. The media campaign has two areas of focus: a teen targeted Above the Influence campaign and a young adult targeted anti-meth campaign. By law, the purpose of the media campaign is to prevent drug abuse among teens in the United States, increase awareness of adults of the impact of drug abuse on young people, and encourage parents and other interested adults to discuss with their young people the dangers of illegal drug use.
And they have a symbol, right?
Yes, they do. It features an arrow pointing up with a circle around it.
Well, thank you two for coming in tonight. Why don't we give them a round of applause?
We sent out our interviewer team for the show to ask teens some questions. Here's what they came back with.
Being safe.
Do not do drugs.
It means to be the one at school who doesn't do drugs even when people want you to.
To be abstinent.
Not doing drugs because other people are.
Show more consequences.
I would check people for drugs as they enter the school, or if you've already got caught, not let them come back to school. I would make posters.
Have medical people come and tell you how drugs affect your health.
Alcohol and drugs or alcohol in the building.
People will be asking me to drink or smoke.
Lots of peer pressure.
To just say no.
Asking people not to bring them to school.
Walk away.
I won't give in, I'll be strong.
And I will say no.
Using good people, the real strategy.
Say no, walk
Say
away.
no.
Say
no.
Make an excuse. Listen
Real
to the DARE program.
Dare my counselor, my parents, and my friends that I can trust.
Teachers?
A teacher, a guidance counselor, parents, grandparents, guidance counselor, friends. My mom.
My mother and my friends.
Our counselor? Parents?
My mother.
Your
My friends.
teacher. My daddy.
My grandma, my grandpa, teacher, principal can give me advice, and they can also help me say no.
They'll tell me what to do or who else to go to for help. They'll tell me what to do and yell at me if I do the wrong thing.
They give me great advice.
We tell them our situation that we're in. They've probably gone through the same situation, so many of times.
They can tell you life stories.
That's true. Adults usually have life stories that have to do with something that you're dealing with.
Actually, I have a story that has something to do with what Mr. Spala was talking about earlier.
You do?
Yes, I do. When I started high school as a freshman at Norway Public School, there was this new kid. He was kind of a dorky nerd, so the kids picked on him a lot. Well, things got so bad that he couldn't stand it. Then one day I saw him walking out of the school carrying what had to be all of his books. He was followed by a couple of jocks making fun of him. They pushed him in the mud and made him drop his books. After they walked away, I went over to help him. I helped him carry some of his books and we got to know each other. Turns out he was pretty cool, really. Well, over the next few years, we became very good friends. At graduation, our senior year, he had his valedictorian speech. His speech goes as follows. I would like to thank my mother and my father, but there is one person I would like to thank the most. He has helped me through hard times and was always there for me. One day after school, I had planned on committing suicide. I had even cleaned out my locker so that my parents wouldn't have to. But that all changed when I met this guy. We quickly became friends, and now we can't be separated. That was the first time that I had learned what he had in mind that day with all of his books. I couldn't help but be proud of myself. I had inadvertently saved someone's life.
Wow, that's an amazing story. You can do anything with the power of friendship. And along the lines of Mr. Spala, don't give up. There is always someone to talk to.
Yeah, whether it be teachers, friends, parents, grandparents, counselors, or another person.
Well, that's about all the time we have left.
Actually, do we have time for one more thing?
Well, okay.
Thanks to the help of many students, we got to go out and find what they are above the influence of. What we did was we gave our students, grades 6 through 8, paper with this symbol on it. The above the influence symbol. There were a great many. It's my life, not the high life. Drugs, or for smugs. Get high off of life, not drugs. Or ending up in the hospital, jail, or dead is not cool.
Those kids know what they're talking about.
Do you know why they choose those slogans?
Actually, we did ask some of them.
Can we see?
Sure.
I'm gonna do don't do drugs, and then up here I'm gonna do something that I like to do. I think the arrow means you should be above the level of drugs and not below it.
Well, my idea of this beautiful picture so far is saying no to drugs, being men, sex isn't cool.
thing supposed to be a question?
Drugs? I thought you said dogs.
Can you name at least 10 different types of drugs? No. What? Being pressured to drink and smoke any drugs.
Marijuana.
Man! Is the beast!
Whoops, wait, don't say action yet. Just a second here. Sorry. I got the wrong glasses.
And that's all, folks.